Afternoon, all. Good to see everyone joining in. Good to see you, Mr. Tisshaw. Thank you for that email just now. Just give it the customary 60 seconds or so. Let everyone in. Welcome to cold and wet and miserable afternoon in Bedford, UK. Very happy to have and friends and colleagues from the States, which is why we're doing it this time. From the UK, obviously, Ireland, and Europe, and out east. And yeah, this has been a very nice experience for me to be doing these webinars, and this is the fourth. So today is a bit of a different day today because we are going to do kind of a shorter and a crunchier presentation, looking at the 21 to 9 aspect ratio. So let's share my screen and let's get going. Right, hopefully everyone has got that. Yeah, great to see so many people still joining. This is a bit of a Groundhog Day for some of you, but just to introduce myself to new people to this series. My name is Greg Jeffries. I am a director and owner of Visual Displays. We were formerly Paradigm AV. I consult in the areas that I'm talking about today. I'm not an AV consultant. I'm a specialist in these areas, and I consult for people like Google and the government, UK government, and so on. I've got a strong background in the academic and standard side of AV, particularly displays and lighting. I have either co-written or led some of the standards that we're going to talk about today, or mention in passing anyway. And currently I lead VIX's task steering group that leads their standards group. We call it SteerCo. That's what we call ourselves. Yeah, and I've been involved with the leadership of VIXA for many years. I was present back about 100 years ago in 2012. Let's move on. So the background to this, as ever, is that big inspiration for doing these webinars was that Microsoft put out this lovely document, bringing Microsoft Teams to your meeting rooms document. Everything on these slides, by the way, is you're going to get as a deliverable after the event, and there are links through to that. I strongly advise you to get that. And the two authors, Jimmy Vaughan and Joe Saracen, I think it's a really significant piece of work. It's a proper piece of thought leadership in that it actually is product agnostic, and it's talking about how we can do these hybrid spaces and Teams rooms so much better. And the other part of this is I was asked to write an article for AV Magazine just before Christmas, and we got an incredible response to that. And again, there's a link to that article there, and hopefully you'll find that interesting, add a bit more color and background to it. So the thing about this whole new vision thing that Microsoft put out in that document is that what you'll see there when you look at it, and there are associated videos on YouTube, all of which are really useful, is that you'll see that they are showing that they're using projection to deliver their vision thing, and effectively, what I'm going to be doing is looking at a kind of a specific element of that today. Now, one thing I need to be very careful to say here is that I'm speaking for myself. I'm not speaking on behalf of VIXA, definitely not speaking on behalf of Microsoft. This is very much my personal take on it all. However, this is what I do for a living, and I will argue my corner vigorously. Like I say, we're going to do this session in a shorter period of time. This is a kind of a more crunchy and more detailed thing. I'm going to leave a bit of space at the end for some Q&A. And one thing, by the way, it'd be great to have in the chat is any kind of ideas about any particular subjects or topics that you might want in the future. We keep looping back to the Discast standard. I think I might do another one of those as a webinar. There's a renewal CTS renewal unit for that as well. Okay, so Microsoft have in that document, the thing that everybody was massively excited about is this great big visual showing how Front Row works. This is a visual. It's a simulation, but very interesting to see, because what we can see there is that moving up to much larger image sizes than we're used to using. It's a low luminance, high contrast, and high resolution display, and those are kind of drivers. I mean, this is just a visual, but these are very much drivers for the future of how these displays need to be delivered. And it's not just about how we deliver the thing. It's also just to think about how we might want to spend all bloody day, or all morning or afternoon in a session or in a working session, and not to be fatigued at the end of it. So that was it in principle, and this is it in practice. So this is somewhere on their campus in Seattle, and what we can see here is that they are delivering it with projection. These are two projectors, hard edge blend. You can see that you've got that join there. And so that, one infers from that, this is a 32:9 aspect ratio. Unlike the previous slide, where the camera is not actually shown, although if you look in other things, it's embedded in the screen. That's another rabbit trail. We'll look at that another time. Here they've got the VC camera in a fairly in a more conventional view. However, the main event today is we're going to look at this new release of Front Row. So the February 22 rollout of Front Row includes support for this new aspect ratio, and that guy Greg with a lovely name, who is the leader of this project, that's him. Him having an interview with a Microsoft senior manager at the launch of that. And so what the revolutionary thing here, the breakthrough thing here, is that not only can you have a layout in conventional 16:9, but also 21:9, as shown here, with a 2560 by 1080 resolution. Now, one thing that I have to say here is that, again, you can see that this is being done under very controlled lighting, but you can also see that at the moment there's not a particularly good image quality. That's probably might be partly to do with the flash photography and so forth, so you don't want to read too much into that. However, compare and contrast that with the original big Front Row visual that we looked at, and there's a bit of a delta, a bit of a difference there. Overall, in the context, we've got three aspect ratios to look at, or if you like, 2.5. We've still got 16:9. We've got 21:9, which we're going to look at today in some detail. And then we've got the kind of the widescreen. Now, I'm putting that there as 28:9 because the way that we deliver widescreen experiences like that with twin projectors is to use two or more projectors and then soft edge blend them so that we have an overlap area with a blend in it, so you get a seamless whole. That hard edge blend that we've seen there in practice, that's very hard to deliver as a seamless experience to viewers, and particularly if that's the very center and you've got the content window there, that's the last place you want to have any visual obstruction. But the thing about that is that in reality, once you get into multiple projectors, then you've got the call on really having almost any aspect ratio and any resolution and so forth. The world is your oyster. But now thinking about how we get to this 21:9 projected display, just wanted to look at the principles of this to start with. And to look at it in a very specific way. The really important thing, with all of these kind of specification issues, the thing I really believe in, and that's what the standards thing is based around, is to be able to describe what the end result needs to be in terms of deliverable metrics. I won't go off down that one now, but that's kind of the output of what we want. And so we've got this specification funnel, which really has a very strict order of play. Number one is to get the size right. If you don't get the size right, you've kind of lost it at the first hurdle. In 2021, a number of systems got put in a hurry, and you can see that that the size is very inappropriate. And now, thanks to Front Row, as we'll see in a moment, that's about to become even more inappropriate. So that's the quantity. The next part, if you like, is the quality, and the quality here are the metrics that for contrast and luminance. And then finally, the resolution, and that's a piece that, again, I think we need to look at in a little bit more detail on this session. So in practice, the way it works is that you make this level on size. I'm going to talk about size again in a moment, but as I say, absolute 101, do that first. And then in practice, you've got this bit of an iterative loop to get to the right result. When you're using a projection, but in fact, this applies to any display type that you'll have. But I'm particularly talking about projection today. The principles remain the same. So the thing to do is to work out what you need to do to get the minimum contrast requirement as dictated by VIX's standard, the PISCAR standard, about to come ISCAR standard, and then what kind of luminance that you want, bearing in mind that most flat panels are specified too bright. You want to get that about right, and that's the principle involved here. But looping back to image size, then size really does matter. However, it gets worse or better depending on how you want to look at it. So if you think back to the Front Row layout that's been launched, what we've got here is that we've got effectively the main content, the important content, in a window within the overall display size. Now, Discast as it stands now, the image is synonymous with the display size. But here, with the way that Teams rooms and hybrid spaces are going, the paths diverge here. So what we need to do is to think about what size the content window needs to be in order for the people at the back of the room to be able to see. Using the conventional kickoff point of 3% element height with the Discast standard, which then equates to the 6:1 rule. That's to say, for every meter of image height, say, then the farthest viewer should be no more than 6 meters further back than that. If you scale that for the content window, then that could become, for example, in this scenario, 3.6:1. So there's a whole step change really that's coming up here about using much larger image sizes. And the beauty about using projection is once you get into that space, then you can actually choose whichever size you want. But, and there's always a but, it just has to be done properly now. Looking at, I work extensively on campuses. So I've got a lot of friends and colleagues from higher ed who are on the call. Very happy to see you, by the way. No names, no pack drill. Every campus has got that experience where the building facilities are effectively, killing their displays. But these are both examples of projected displays. The one on the left is a project we did at Glasgow Uni. These are using ambient light rejecting screen materials and the 3 LCD laser projection. I'm just going to break out here just to show you an example of the material that we use, because ambient light rejecting materials come in all shapes and sizes, and we use a lot of those. So this is one of the materials we use. You can see my fingerprints all over it, so apologies for that. But looking at it from one side, you can see that it's black. Looking at it from another side, you can see that it's white. Some of these materials are really quite spectacular pieces of optical engineering, and then making the right call and right choice on that is absolutely important. Right, on with the show. Now, another thing about doing projection properly is that the kind of conventional way of doing the projection, you just have to flip that. Conventionally you'd see a spec where you go, oh, you need a projector of X thousand Nancy lumens and so forth. The way that we have to do it now in order to do this properly is to select the screen surface first. That's to say, choose the screen surface on the basis of the room conditions, on the use of the room, is it wide viewing angles, the seating layout, all those kinds of things. And then once that's been done, and of course don't forget having the size right as well. And don't forget your inverse square laws, by the way, those of you still swatting up with your CTSs. Then from that, you then use the calculators that we have in order to specify the projector lumens and projector quality. We've got a whole toolkit for that. I'm sharing that with you on the links here. However, this is really, for the most part, we do this for our partners and friends, and we've got like I say, a number of tools, and then you can either do this yourself, but that's really what my team and I do for our partners. Okay, so now I want to have a little think about resolution. So when an image is static, such as an Excel sheet or a PowerPoint slide, then HD is just fine. 1920 1080p is just fine. But our human visual acuity, it's a cumulative thing. That's to say, as an object moves, we're kind of adding detail in the way that we process that. And if you think about it, or if you look at it like I do, then if you think that if you could see that, it's very hard to see the difference between an HD and a 4K UHD resolution on a static image. But it's very easy to see when it's moving. So from that, when it's moving video, so from that, you kind of get an idea about how that works. Now, the new aspect ratio of 21:9 in the new release of Microsoft's Front Row, now that's got a resolution of 2560 by 1080, as we saw before. Now this has basically got the same pixel density, the same pixel size as HD. It's got the same vertical resolution of 1080, but with added horizontal pixels to kind of express that in a rather clumsy way. So you can see where I'm going with this. And really, you're thinking about the future. For those who can first deliver a true UHD pixel density, namely 4 times the resolution of HD, they're going to have a massive advantage when the source resolutions get up to these levels. And of course, for 4K or UHD to be true resolution, you need that to be constant right the way through from source signal through to display. So let's now look at the 21:9 thing in the detail that I was promising. Now there are a number of ways of skinning a cat, and I'm not saying this is the only way of doing it, but this is how we recommend doing it, how we shall be doing it for the moment. In thinking about future-proofing the display, we think that using pixel-shifted UHD, delivering having that way of delivering 4K is the good combination for for having that option as something that's affordable for the time being. But the thing is that the way of delivering this is to either have a screen cut to 21:9, or to take what we call the digital canvas approach and go for that much larger screen size. Because remember, what's going to happen in these spaces is they're going to have multiple modes of use, multiple workflows, different screen layouts, and it's no, you can either put in a colored band above, or just leave it blank when it's running. You can position the the 21:9 image within that overall within that overall window. You've got some vertical movement, but the way that we do it, and the practical way of doing it for a number of reasons at the moment, is that you go from source to an external signal processor to a single UHD projector. And that's our approach. I can go into that in a lot of detail, and we'll hopefully have a bit of time for a bit of Q&A. But that's really the way that we recommend doing it right now. And then, moving on to the multiple projector the multiple projector installations, as envisioned by Microsoft. There you can see the conventional projectors hung from the ceiling. I'll come back to that in a moment. But here again, we'd use an external box that not only does signal processing, but does the blending and sometimes warping as well. So we've thought, within visual displays, we've thought long and hard about that. And what we've done is we've come up with this digital canvas approach, and we've got basically two approaches to this. One is to do it with conventional projectors hung off the ceiling like we just saw, but we think that there'll be a lot of traction, well, we found that out already, for having these freestanding units where we're using projectors with UST lenses, and to present them in a self-contained credenza style unit. There's a little roll-in rack unit that you can pre-configure the room system in there. Just roll it in and away you go. But we do this, this kind of configuration is a kind of, if you like, it's a design approach. And we do them in standard sizes and bespoke sizes. 120 and 140 inch are the kind of the basic units. You can see that we can fit the camera or the camera bar to the front of the unit, and we do them in different finishes, with different in structure only, so that if you want to have it clad in to match your interior, that's fine. We also do it as a flat pack, for exporting. So you can get that through local resellers and integrators. And if there are any of our overseas integrators on the call, then obviously we'll talk to us, and we'll talk you through this. But this is basically part of the industrial design consultancy that we have. Now, moving up, through the possibilities that's there. One thing to highlight is that we've got a background in making immersive displays. Anything from a fast jet dome like that, to caves, to curves, front and rear projection, these power walls, and we've got a lot of IP. For building these displays, and and basically we were completely ready for this to come in. And one thing that having our thinking caps in and thinking about the possibilities that Front Row offers and will offer, is that we think that it'll be very nice to have the curved screen option, which we are offering as well. It's a way of making the user experience much more inclusive and natural. It's got a nice organic feel to it. These are very much, this is a vision thing for us, but this is part of what we design and do. So hopefully that will be a bit of inspiration to you as well. But that's two projectors, and that's not 21:9. That's just kind of a little bit of a future looking as well. One thing that's really coming up at the moment is just asking this question about whether you've got, or your client, wherever you fit in the food chain, whether you have an evaluation space. I think it's absolutely vital to have this at the moment. The speed of change is absolutely massive, and the workflows are absolutely work in progress. The display layouts. How many more layouts do you think we might see in 2022? I think there's going to be a need for user-created layouts in the future, and with all this stuff going on, they're going to be multiple sessions going at once, multiple codecs. How are we going to get to that high resolution? And this, I think, having an evaluation space with a large with a large high resolution display kind of gives you the chance to do that. So just as I kind of wrap up on the call, just wanted to give a couple of credits to two associations that I'm very proud to be associated with. The AV User Group, which is run by my friend Owen, he leads this group. And for any of you who are on the client side of the fence, that this is a global organization, and strongly advise you to belong to it, because the thing is that this is a real group of like-minded people who've got these issues that we're talking about now. How are we going to deliver these spaces now? And my other friends also on the call is the LTSMG, Learning and Teaching Spaces Management Group, and this is the technology managers group for the higher ed and further ed campuses. And I'm very proud to be involved with them. I've given them webinars. We're a sponsor, and very happy to do that. Yeah, right. So finally, just to give you the final word from our sponsors, just in terms of what we at Visual Displays can do for you, one thing that has come out is that people don't understand how they can engage with us. And I think the thing I'd like to highlight is that, you can use any or all of our services. We're a specialist outfit, and you can use anything from a bit of specialist consultancy or design right the way through to, to a full package. We work actively with all parts of the food chain, with end users and consultants and so forth. However, all of our hardware and solutions come through the channel, come through the resellers, and that's an important thing to say. So we've got 2 or 3 minutes to go before the end of the session. I've whizzed through that at a good pace. We haven't got many questions here, but Ashley has asked, can you help with calculating the VC camera position in relation to the light path on projectors? I always thought front projection and VC are poor bedmates. Well, that's a very good question, Ashley. I want to give you a fiver for asking that, mate, because that's one of the reasons actually we use a UST projection, because it does give us the option of mixing the VC camera with it. On another session, we'll look at camera position, because what Microsoft are doing are embedding in the vision piece, they're embedding the lens, the VC lens, in the screen, and we can do that with UST projection. But that's a kind of a watch this space thing. But yes, we can help you. We can help you with that. And I've got one question here. Can we get the link for that post from Stephen? Yes, all of the links will come through. They're on my slides, and you'll get that automatically in a recording of me mumbling my way through my way through this. So shorter and a crunchier session this time. Thanks so much for being here. Hopefully you found that helpful. Would appreciate any feedback, constructive and otherwise, about the session, and also particularly what future webinars that you might want to be helpful. I think I'm going back. I think, as I say, I'm going back to doing one about the Discuss image size, because that really is kind of key to the whole thing, and there's been a lot of misunderstanding and misapplication of that, and I think that will be. It's always helpful to have a bit of revision. Certainly helps me. Right, well, I'm going to stick around for a couple of minutes if anybody wants to stay around and chat and answer some questions, but want to be respectful of your time. This was the fourth in the series of these webinars. You can get links to the previous ones if you want them. But meantime, thanks so much for being a part of this. I really enjoyed doing them, and hopefully you got something from it too. So thank you. Well, I've obviously done a good job in either bashing you into submission. Thanks for the nice comments, everyone. It's good to see you. Some friends there. So I think we'll call that a day for today. And thanks again, and look forward to seeing you on the next session. Okay, bye bye, everyone.